9/11, man. 9/11. Never forget. So, I have family in New York, quite a bit. I actually had 3 brothers in Manhattan on 9/11. Now, I didn't know which of them were where or what they were doing. My brother Teddy was in, he's not a young man anymore. My brother Ted worked in the Twin Towers back in, in the 90s, when a terrorist set off a bomb in the parking garage. I didn't know if he still worked there. My brother Eric is a graphics designer. He was certainly in Manhattan. I didn't know where. My brother Jim, different dad, yes, big family. My brother Jim was in Manhattan on vacation. So it was kind of scary for me. I kind of freaked out. As you know, phone lines were jammed, nationwide, worldwide perhaps. So it wasn't until a good number of hours later that I found out that my brothers were all fine. But it was very scary. It was very scary. So no calls in or out. What are you going to do? My brother Jim, by the way, was on vacation. So he was trapped in Manhattan. He couldn't get out because there were no flights. And he's got some pretty fascinating pictures. He's got a picture of himself in Times Square with no cars, no cabs, no nothing. So people's reaction to 9/11 was pretty understandable. This was the biggest foreign attack on American soil since Pearl Harbor. And Pearl Harbor wasn't exactly what you'd call American soil on account of it not being American soil until years after the attack. So yeah, people's reaction was understandable. We freaked out, we wanted revenge, but the government's reaction was not understandable. Trillions of dollars in bullshit wars that we never signed on for. Come on. How many lives lost? Thousands of ours, hundreds of thousands of theirs, lives ruined, insurgents bred. It's bullshit. But never forget 9/11. We can't. We're not allowed to forget it because the TSA simply will not permit it. Anyone who has flown since 9/11 knows what a joke it is. Even if you're not flying, even if you're at an airport in another country, the US rules still apply. When I was in Germany, I bought this really fancy jar of Nutella that was 2 different flavors swirled together. And when I went to bring it on the flight, they said, "Nope, sorry, it's a liquid." I said, "Well, clearly it's not a liquid. For the love of God, it's a jar of hazelnut spread." "Well, it's a cream." This was like $6. Are you really going to make me throw this away? Yeah, you can throw it away. You have to throw it away. Now let me look at your chocolate bar. Got my chocolate bar. She goes, "Well, I talked to my supervisor. You're allowed to carry that." I should hope I'm allowed to carry a chocolate bar on a plane. What is this, weapons grade Toblerone? It's ridiculous. So recently I was watching some TV show, and I saw this city skyline. I thought, oh, that's pretty. Wonder what city that is. It was New York. Didn't even recognize it, even though it had the newly built Freedom Tower in it. And I saw that, and I was like, that's sad. I should be able to recognize the New York City skyline. It was iconic. It was unmistakable. And yeah, the character is gone. And I think it's shameful. I think the way we went about and executed and completed the rebuilding of the World Trade Plaza is shameful and disgraceful. So first of all, it took way too long to build. I mean, way too long. So it was, 5 years until we broke ground, and then 7 more until we finished. Now, compare that with the Burj Dubai. They changed the name. The Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the history of the world. The Burj Khalifa was built in 6 years, just under 6 years, and it's 1,000 feet taller. 1,000. That's like 2/3 of an Empire State Building taller in less time, like half as much time. Now, mind you, the Freedom Tower, despite being only 1,776 feet tall, actually has more square footage, 3.5 million square feet of commercial space versus 3.3 million in the Burj Khalifa. But the Twin Towers had 10 million feet of space. So we got 1/3 of what we replaced. So what should we have done? Well, the goal is to not let the terrorists win. And between the TSA and the response and reaction to the Freedom Tower, I believe we did let the terrorists win. What we should have done is immediately begin work on a pair of new, slightly different, but reminiscent towers. Maybe you make them in different colors. Maybe you give them some new flair. Hell, maybe you build 3 or 4 towers instead of 2. Taller, meaner. Something that says, F you, we're not going out without a fight. We're not scared of you. The Freedom Tower is built ingeniously. It's got so many redundancies that allow it to... the same attack today would not take it down, and if it did, everybody could get out. That can be done in any building. It doesn't take 1,000,000 years to do it. Now, the Freedom Tower only costs $3.9 billion to build. And I say only, that's a lot of money, but it's really not. Not when you're talking about something like that. Even if it was $20 billion to rebuild, do an accelerated schedule, things cost more, you're building more, a second tower, you're building more square footage, maybe even taller. To put that in perspective, the war in Iraq, not Afghanistan, Iraq, where we never needed to go, cost us $720 million a day. So that means, forget about the insurance money, forget about the investors. Let's say the federal government just walked in and agreed to finance the whole thing. It would have taken less than a month of what we wasted in Iraq to pay for it. We could have built it cash. So stupid. Now at Ground Zero itself, we've replaced the footprint of the 2 original towers with reflecting pools. And they're not reflecting pools, they're holes in the ground that water pours into at what cost I can't imagine. It's a lot of energy, it's a lot of water. Reflecting pools, they help us remember, but they also stand as a monument to those who attacked us. After bin Laden was killed, he was promptly buried at sea. His house was razed, bulldozed to the ground, so that there would be no burial place and there would be no building in which he lived to stand monument to his legacy. But we have holes in the ground. To what? Remember the victims? I don't know, man. A wall of names remembers the victims. Leaving 2 holes in the ground that terrorists gave us, to me that sends the wrong message. And even that, the museum, the security in and out, is just absurd. I love America, but we let the terrorists win. They knew what they were doing to us, and they succeeded. We've spent ourselves into bankruptcy. We've made ourselves look like asses. We've made ourselves into the world's asses. It's just shameful. We had an opportunity to prove we were better than that. And we let it pass. We didn't just let it pass. We spit in its face. All that goodwill squandered. And then some.